Imagine a vision so powerful, so absolute, it nearly reshaped the entire world. Today we're exploring the mindset that drove one nation to conquer half a continent in just a few short years. This wasn't just about winning battles. It was about systematically tearing down the old European order and forcing a terrifying new one into its place. Over the next 10 minutes, we're going to uncover the three fundamental motivations that fueled this colossal conflict across Europe. This is a deep dive into the historical logic that led to a global catastrophe. To understand this, we have to go back to the beginning, to the aftermath of World War I and the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. For Germany, this treaty was a crushing blow. It imposed immense economic burdens, stripped away significant territories, and created a deep, festering sense of national humiliation. To the leaders of the new movement rising in Germany, this treaty wasn't just unfair, it was an intolerable insult that had to be erased. This leads us to the first powerful motive: restoration. The core promise made to the German people was to nullify the terms of Versailles, rebuild the military from the ground up, and restore the nation's perceived former greatness. Every early action was a calculated step on this path. The remilitarization of the Rhineland, a direct violation of the treaty, was a test of international resolve. The annexation of Austria, the Anschluss, was framed as uniting German-speaking peoples. These weren't random acts of aggression. They were strategic moves designed to methodically undo the consequences of 1919 and reclaim what they saw as Germany's rightful power and prestige on the world stage. This desire for restoration was the engine that started the entire machine. But restoring old borders and national pride was only the groundwork. The second, much more expansive motive was ideological, captured in a single chilling word: Lebensraum, or living space. This was a core belief that the German people, in order to thrive and ensure their long-term survival, required vast new territories for agriculture, resources, and demographic expansion. It was a vision of a self-sufficient, dominant empire. And where was this living space to be found? The answer was clear: Eastern Europe. The territories of Poland, Ukraine, and the vast lands of the Soviet Union were the primary targets. This wasn't a conventional war for resources or influence as we often understand it. It was a brutal, expansionist crusade rooted in the conviction that these lands were destined to become a new German imperial domain. The people already living there, millions of them, were not considered part of this future. They were slated for displacement, enslavement, or in many cases outright destruction to make way for the new vision. The invasion of Poland in 1939 was the violent first step in this territorial grab. But the ultimate expression of this ambition was the monumental attack on the Soviet Union in 1941, Operation Barbarossa, a massive, ruthless campaign driven by the single-minded pursuit of Lebensraum. This brings us to the third motive, the one that provided the ideological cement for the entire structure: the systematic elimination of perceived enemies. The central leadership identified two major forces they believed stood in the way of their new European order: Bolshevism, or communism, and most horrifically, the Jewish people. In their twisted worldview, these were not separate challenges. They were seen as a single, unified existential threat to their goals and their very existence. This belief system directly linked the war of conquest in Eastern Europe with the unimaginable tragedy of the Holocaust. The conflict in the East was framed as the ultimate ideological and racial war. Its purpose was not just to achieve military objectives, but to carry out the complete and systematic destruction of specific populations. Every military action, every policy of occupation, was deeply interconnected, serving the dual purpose of acquiring territory and purging it of those deemed unfit to live within the new order. The war for land and the war against people became one and the same. So when we step back and ask why this devastating invasion of Europe happened, the answer isn't simple. It was the catastrophic convergence of three monumental forces. First, a powerful drive for national redemption, a quest to erase the shame of the Treaty of Versailles. Second, a ruthless expansionist crusade for living space, the concept of Lebensraum, which demanded the conquest of Eastern Europe. And third, a hateful genocidal campaign to eradicate ideological enemies, which fused the war of conquest with a war of annihilation. This campaign represented a radical, violent, and aggressive attempt to re-engineer an entire continent. It was an effort that ultimately failed, but only after exacting the largest and most devastating human toll in all of history. Understanding these three driving forces, restoration, Lebensraum, and eradication, is absolutely essential to grasping the full, horrifying scope of World War II and why it unfolded the way it did. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these historical motives do you find the most profoundly disturbing? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this deep dive valuable, please be sure to like this video and subscribe for more history that continues to shape our world today. Thank you for watching.